The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, everybody. It's Rob Cosgrove at Remote Backup Systems, and thanks for coming here. I think what we'll do is we're going to wait 2 or 3 minutes to let some other people show up. We had a lot of people. Yeah, here they go. Here they come. Okay, let's give it 2 or 3 minutes to let some more people show up before we start. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, use your console there. There's a place for you to ask questions. So just enter your questions there, and if it's appropriate, I'll get to them and answer them. If I can't answer them during the webinar, then I'll get somebody to answer them for you a little bit later by email. Let's see. And I've read everybody's pre-webinar stuff. We are not going to be able to do any tech support today. It's a webinar to show the software, and I see that Katisha has some issues. Katisa has some issues with setting up the software. So let me. We will not be able to do that tech support case today. I can't do that during a webinar, but that's what you mentioned is a really easy thing to fix. So if you'll just contact our tech support, you can dial in at 901-405-1234, or you can just file a support ticket yourself and do that at help.remote-backup.com. Let's see, Paul has a problem. Paul wants to know how do I join on my phone to talk. You don't talk, I talk, but you can ask questions by typing it there, and then I'll try to get to you. I don't know, I could turn it on, I guess, so you could talk. Just dial into the access code line, dial into the phone number at, I think it's 646-307-1706 for this morning, and you should be able to join the conference call there. Let me get a screen set up for us. Here we go. Okay, let's go ahead and get started then. It's been a couple of minutes. Okay, so what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you the RBackup software. And for those of you who are coming to us from a different vendor, Venbu, Ase, Acronis, Novastore, any of those others that try to compete with us, I can answer some questions. I know quite a bit about those competitors, so if you'd like to ask me some specific questions, I'll be happy to answer those for you. Just type them right there into your console, and I'll be able to see that and answer it if I can. If I can't, I'll, of course, email you later or get you an answer somehow. I think what we'll do is start out explaining exactly how the system works, how to install it, just how it works, because it's a little different from other online backup systems. Ours is a complete turnkey system. It's everything you need. It's the server, it's the endpoint software, it's brandable, it's white label, it's self-hosted, so you will install this in your own data center and you'll use your own hard drives to back up your own endpoints, and our company really has nothing to do with that. That's all up to you. You can charge them whatever you want. You do your own tech support with your end users. We are not a reseller. We don't store data here at our data center, except for you guys. We do have a hot site available for you guys to use if you need it, but beyond that, we don't service any end users at all. We are completely channel focused, always have been. So what you're seeing in front of you is the server console. This is what controls the server itself. The way you do this is you install the RBackup server on the computer that you intend to use as an online backup server, and you can install several of them if you want, up to 254 of them servers, and they'll all fail over to one another, and they can share data even in data centers that are geographically distant. So there is that built-in failover and auto recovery feature for the server. So then you use the setup feature. I'll show you this. You use the customized client installer feature to brand your client software. You go through these 5 screens, which I'll show you a bit later, and you do all kinds of things. You set settings, you set your menu structure, you tell the software how you want it to function, you set up some rules. You can change names of the software. You can change your own, you can add your own graphics. You can do things like here, enable Windows event logging. You can just a ton of stuff, which I'll go through with you. So the procedure is you install the server software. You use this utility to customize and brand the endpoint software and set up all of your defaults for the way you want to do business. And then you create the exe installers. Anytime, and there are several ways you can create those installers. We're going to show you. I'm going to show you one way to do it today, and then I'll show you a movie that will show you the other ways that you can do it. There are a lot of ways to do it. So first you install the server, then you customize and brand the endpoint software, then you create the endpoint software, which generates a single exe file that you can distribute or download to your endpoints and run that, and that will install your software for you. And it calls back to the server to get authentication, and it does all of your backups and restores through that endpoint. Let me show you the endpoint first. I usually don't do that first, but let's do it first. Here's the endpoint software. Now this is the advanced interface. Some call it the ugly Windows 98 interface. I'll switch over to the simple interface for you. Let's see, options, switch to simple interface. That's the pretty interface. The endpoint software has these two interfaces, and the and most people use the simple interface to leave with their end users. This is more graphical. It's got a lot more pop-up help on it to help you through the process of creating a backup set and doing backups and restores. And it's got some protection from, frankly, from your end users. If you're going to let your end users work with the software directly, it's always a good idea to show them this interface because it doesn't have the advanced features on it that technicians, that you know, nerds like me are going to like. It has nothing that can get them in trouble. It's just for daily use. Now, for you nerds out there like me, and you want to actually dig into it and get at all the nitty-gritty and all the power of it, switch to the ugly interface. That's this one. Let's welcome Blue Byte Technologies. We've got Jeff and Isaac here. Welcome, guys. Just type any questions you have and let me know. For those of you who didn't hear in the beginning, all you have to do is type the question there in the, or you can probably just raise your hand. I think there's a way to raise your hand, and I can unmute your microphone or your telephone, and you can actually talk. Let's try that. I've never actually done that before. All right. So here's the interface, and let me show you how this works. Along the left side, when you first light up the software, it inventories the system to see what's available that needs to be backed up. In my case, on this computer, this is my desktop computer. On this computer, I don't have Exchange or Active Directory or Hyper-V or SharePoint or any of those others that would show up along here. I do have VMware running, and I'll show you where that shows up. That shows up here. So to back up VMware, I happen to have VMware Workstation running, and I've got two instances. I have one Windows Server 2012 running and Linux running, and in order to back those up, all you really have to do is just check mark them. So if I want to back up these two instances, I'll just do that. You can also back up full drive images, and that's this. That's built into the endpoint software. This will back up entire physical or logical drives, and when it does so, it creates a standard Hyper-V VHD file that can be directly mounted. That file is uncompressed and unencrypted, and it's kept in the local environment, so a lot of people use this for quick disaster recovery. They'll have our software do a VHD backup of the full drive once a night or once a week, store it in a local environment, and then in case of a disaster, you can spin that up really quick using any hypervisor. The system ships with several default backup sets, and the way to back up standard files is to drill down in the left side. And I've done that for you here. I've selected this set of files to back up, and it's in a folder called RBS Demo Large. And here they all are. I've put a green check mark over the folder itself, which by default puts a green check mark over everything inside the folder. And I can also dig into the folder itself, and if I want to exclude certain files inside that folder, I can just do it by putting a red X over it. I'm going to include all these just to show you that it works. Okay, what we'll do is let me do a backup and a restore. Really simple backup and a restore. It's simple and quick. And when I do this, know that this is the way they all work. If you're going to back up Exchange, if you're going to back up Active Directory or SharePoint or any database that SQL, anything that we have a built-in agent for, it looks here just like a drive. So the system will inventory it and it'll show it to you on the left-hand side over here. Some of them need credentials to back up, like Exchange. So if you want to back up Exchange, you'll have it here. You right-click on the Exchange icon, enter the credentials, and then it expands on the right side with all of the objects that we can back up, and that would be all of the folders and all of the mailboxes and everything inside the database that we can back up. To back them up, again, you just put a green check mark over it, and that's how you select it for backup, and that's how everything works with this system. All right, having selected all these, let's just do a backup. And normally backups are scheduled, but I'm going to set this to do a backup now. I'm going to say run now, and I'll explain what it's doing. Okay, well, what the endpoint software is doing now is it has searched these and has selected the files that it wants to back up, which is all of them. It is now compressing and encrypting and deduplicating these files. It is digitally signing these files, and then it transmits them to the server. The server checks the digital signature, which ensures that the files came from the endpoint that it expects them to come from, and that they haven't been modified since then. And that prevents any viruses from attaching, and also prevents a lot of hack attempts, a lot of things that people might try to do to get into your system. Okay, that backup is finished now, finished at 100%, backed up 95 files. Okay, now let's do a restore. What I'm going to do is delete all these files. Yep, let's delete those files. Okay, now let's restore the files. Here's how the restore works. You select files for restore. Here's the restore interface. This restore interface looks a little blank, but it'll fill up in just a minute. I want to tell you about it. There are several versions of this restore interface. They all look alike. The one that we've popped up now here came from the endpoint software itself, so you can do a restore right from the endpoint. You can also do a restore online. This restore interface is available as a standalone exe file. It's pretty small. You can host it on your own website, or on our software will host it for you if you want. And when people want to do a restore online and they're not doing it from the endpoint, they can just download this exe file and run it, even at an internet cafe or on somebody else's computer. It will ask for your username and password and encryption key, and then it'll present you with a list of files that you can restore. And at the end of the restore, it removes itself and deletes itself from the system, so it completely disappears. The other version of this file is this restore interface can be placed on a USB drive. In case you've got a huge backup that you want to restore for somebody, and they don't have time to download it over the internet, you can copy all those files to a USB drive and then put a copy of this restore utility on the drive and ship it to a customer. All he has to do is plug it in and run this utility, and it'll restore files directly from the USB drive, and that's pretty fast. The way this defaults, these settings, this defaults to, and I'm going to click search, this defaults to picking out all of the latest versions that we backed up. So here it is. This, in effect, is a full restore, and I have only done one backup with this, so a full restore for us is just a restore of everything that we've backed up previously. To do a restore, you just click that, and you click Start Restore, and now it's doing the restore, and you can see the files coming back over here. It decompresses, it orders the files from the server, and then it tests the digital signature to make sure it's still good, and then it does the restore. And that's it. That's the restore. And restores for all the other databases that we support are just as easy. They work just like that for Exchange, for SQL, for Active Directory, for any of that stuff, including VMware and Hyper-V. Let's see, back to VMware and Hyper-V. I showed you that we do have VMware, and this computer doesn't have Hyper-V, but if it did, it would also show up right here, and you could back it up the same way. You just click the instances that you want, and it'll restore all of that. Okay, let me bounce this out of here. Okay, so that's the endpoint software, and that's really all there is to it. Now let me show you the server side. Any questions about the endpoint? Anybody want me to go over anything else about that? This is an interactive webinar. I can see what you're typing there. So anybody has any questions or wants me to go over anything again, let me know. I'll be happy to do it. Okay, let's have a look at the server side. So when you install the server, let's see, Jason wants to know about the VMware. Here, I'll show you how to run the VMware. In order for VMware to be backed up, our software, the endpoint software, has to run in the host, and it's a Windows program, so it has to work in. It has to run in a Windows instance, which means it won't run on ESXi. ESX is some kind of weird Linux-based operating system. Nobody really knows what it is, and very few people write for it. We don't write for it. So, but what we can do is, later this spring, we'll have an option in our software that can back up other VMs in VMware ESX by running in a Windows instance. So that's not here yet, but watch for that coming soon. I also had another question, will it back up Linux? Yeah, it will. It'll back up Linux instances in VMware. Here's one right here. This is a Linux. So all we have to do is just select that to back it up. It doesn't run on Linux. We don't have a Linux client or Linux server, and we don't have a Mac client, and we certainly don't have a Mac server. Those are coming later in the summer, but we don't have them right now. It will back up Linux and Windows files if Windows has access to those files. For example, if you run this on a Mac with Parallels, then our software will have access to the Mac files. In Boot Camp, it won't, because Boot Camp segments the drive. Jason, the way it detects VMware is when it wakes up, when it first wakes up, it inventories the file system to see what's running, and if it finds VMware, as it did on this computer, it shows it here. So it's automatic. It just starts up and starts looking for stuff. To back up VMware machines, the agent runs, if you want to back up the VMs themselves, the agent runs in the host, like it is on this computer. So here's VMware. Let me show that to you. Here's the VMware workstation running, and it's got this Windows server running, and it's got this Ubuntu running right here. And I've run the agent, this endpoint software, in the host's operating system. Jason wants to know if it's only Windows-based or accessible on a remote computer. Jason, I don't really understand that. Will you restate it, and I'll try to get to it. The software runs on Windows, and you can remote access it, but it's just we don't have support for anything but Windows right now. Okay, let's get back to the server. Jeff, yes, if you run an ESXi, then this summer we'll have something that can address that for you. Okay, so when you install the server software in your data center, it installs with the daemon, which is the server itself, which receives and sends the backups and the restores, and then it also installs this web interface. Now, some of you, I think some of you here in this webinar today are existing customers, and you don't have the web manager. Now, that's free these days. It used to be a $499 expense, but you can download it and run it now. You need version 11.11 of the server software for it to work. But if you want this, just go get it. I've authorized all accounts for it about a few months ago. It's on the partners portal. Just download it and install it. And so here's what you do. Let's see, we've got Victor asking a question. Victor, let's see, are we going to do anything with the web manager that will allow it to be installed on non-IREA servers? Yeah, I heard you were wanting that. Yes, that's coming, and it's not really high on our priority list because we only have basically you and one other guy asking for it. And we'll do it. I know we have to do it, but it's not as high on our priority list as doing some other things like being able to send VHD files off-site in patches or a built-in server failover and mirroring, which we have, but it's not built in. It's an outboard program. We're building all that in right now. So yeah, just wait around. You'll have that. Let's see, Paul, to have anybody else join, just email them, give them the email that you were sent and forward that to them. Those emails work for anybody, so just send that to them and they'll be able to join. Once you set the server up, you'll get this menu system. Now, not a lot of our partners use it. I'll show it to you anyway. It'll make us go over our 1 hour, but those of you who want to hang around for it, I'll wait until the very end to start this. We do have built-in, it costs $1,000 extra, but this is an e-commerce system that allows you to accept credit card payments online on your website. It gives you a website, which I can show you right now. I'll give you just a quick introduction to it, localhost/web. And so when people want to buy your service, they can go to a Buy Now link. They can pick out the plan that they want. They click Buy Now, and it switches them to this screen that this is the order entry screen. So they select a login name and a password. They enter their personal information and their billing information. And then they can select how to pay, and they can pay with Visa, MasterCard, American Express, or Discover, or PayPal. And I don't have PayPal turned on for this demo, but it's easy to turn on. They say, I agree to the standard software license agreement. They click this button, and when they do that, the system will charge their credit card for the first month. It'll set it up for recurring billing, so it automatically charges it every month thereafter, or every quarter, or every year, half year, or every year. And it builds a client, an endpoint installer for them, and deploys it for them, and starts up their account. So it basically does everything. It's a complete hands-off turnkey system if you want to sell services to the public like that. Again, not a lot of our partners do that because most of you guys are full hands-on MSPs. So you take full responsibility and for everything that your end users need to do with IT. So that's not something that a lot of people need right now. All right, let me shut that off and come back over here. Okay, so to the setup, we have plans. You can set up different types of plans, and these are basically templates that establish a service level. I'll show you this. Establishes a server, a price, a quota. This one is an unlimited quota, or you can set a quota in gigabytes. Sets a payment term. You can assign it to an account group. This system can group endpoints into groups of endpoints that can be, and you can do that for billing purposes or for purposes of management, easy management of groups of endpoint accounts. And you can also share quota space if you want to share a pool of quota space. Okay, let's see, that's that. And all right, stand by. Okay, those are plans, and you can set as many plans as you want. Some of them can be trial plans. Here's an example of one. This is a personal computer trial plan, not a big seller among our partners because we don't usually go for the $5 a month business. It's not, there's not enough money in it, and it's a whole lot of trouble. We're going to let Mosey and Carbonite have that stuff, and we're going to go for the expensive stuff. But anyway, here's how you can issue trials. A trial account, you tell it it's a trial plan, and then people will be able to log in and download your trial and run it. And it lasts for a number of days and has a maximum quota of, I think the max is 10 gigabytes. And at the end of the trial period, the system will automatically send an email, and it will invite them to sign up for a live account. Okay, so to deploy an endpoint, I'm going to show you how to do that. The quickest way to deploy an endpoint is like this. You suppose you've got a customer that you're moving from Vimbu StoreGrid, and a lot of you are right now. So you've got remote access to the endpoint software, to the endpoint computer. You just log in to the endpoint computer, and then you bring up a web browser and you point it back to your portal right here. and you go to Endpoints and New Endpoint. You assign it to an account. Let's assign this one to, I don't know, this company right here. Let's call this Demo 17. Let's give it a password, Demo 17, and let's, oh, I can't do that. Let's assign it to the house account because that has actual plans associated with it. Let's give it a server unlimited plan. And that's really all you have to do. You can fill all the rest of this stuff in if you want to, but for quick deployment, just do this, and then you pick Save. Now, what the computer's doing now is it's building a, there, it already did it. It built the installer. Now, it built a single exe file called setup.exe, and that's the client installer. And it's already burned it with all of this information here. This is burned right in. So when you install it, it's not going to ask you for an endpoint name or a username or password because you already typed it in over there at the other screen. So now all you have to do to install this is just to click that, download it, and then run it. And that's your installer. And that's got all of your customizations and branding in it. Let's see. Jason's got some questions. Would they need to reconfigure after the trial? No, Jason, they don't. You can just switch them from a trial plan to a live plan, and I'll show you how to do that. It's right here in their customer record. Let's go to the endpoints. You can say Manage Endpoints. Suppose we want to switch. Let's see if we got a. I don't see any trial plans here, but I can show you how to do it anyway. You just edit this, scroll to the bottom, and you'll uncheck mark the trial plan. That'll be check marked. You just uncheck it, and that makes it a live account. And Jason, yeah, trial accounts do use credits, but they use credits from a different pool. There are two pools of credits built into the system. One is live credits, and the other is trial credits. And trial credits are free. When you buy our software, you buy it by a number of licenses that it needs. So a license is the same as a credit, by the way. We just stopped calling it credits. They're called licenses now. So every account that you deploy uses licenses, and trial accounts are no different. They use the same amount of licenses like live accounts. But when you buy the software from us, we give you a bunch of free trial accounts. Here's an example. If you buy a 400 license version of our software, you get 400 live licenses. And you also get half of that. That would be 200 licenses that you can use as trial accounts. And those recycle just like the others. So, and the software keeps track of that. So if you take one of these accounts out of service by deleting it, then the server will automatically recycle those credits or licenses back into your pool, and you can reuse them with others. When you buy, most people buy our software as permanent licenses. Not monthly licenses like you would buy at StoreGrid or some rental license that you would get over at Osse, or over at NovaStore where they charge you by the gigabyte that you store on your own computer. We don't do any of that. We can do it. We do have the model to do that if you want, but it's not necessary. Most people buy permanent licenses which last forever. So let's see. Let me try this once. I've got somebody who wants to ask a question. I'm going to open the mic and see what happens here. Okay, Carvel, can you hear me? I've got your mic open. He didn't want to talk to me. Oh, yeah, there he goes. If you're there, I've opened your mic so you can ask a question. Okay, I can't hear you, so just type your question there in the questions system, and I'll get to you as soon as I can. Okay, so that's how to deploy an endpoint. Now let me show you the other ways to deploy endpoints. Actually, I'm not going to play this movie for you, but I'm going to show you where it is. It's over on our website at remote-backup.com. You pick Support, Tutorials and Training, How-To Videos, and hey, go look at these too. These are really good videos. They'll cover just about everything we're going to cover in this webinar, and you get to hear my melodious voice. Here's the one, Provisioning Client Endpoints with RBackup. This is only 6 minutes long, but it shows you the 5 different ways that you can deploy endpoints with our software. And there's a deployment method for just about everything. There's a deployment method for everything, every purpose. And now we've added a 6th one. We've actually got an installer that you can download, and it's this installer is plain vanilla, and when it wakes up, it asks you for the server's URL. Um, Jeff wants to know, and this is happening a lot these days, so this is a good question. Suppose some ransomware encrypts the files on an endpoint. What protections exist in the RBS software to prevent these files from overwriting the real ones? And that's a good question. Our software never overwrites anything. Whenever and let me show you how this works. If there's any techs among you, let me show you how this works. Okay, we got all these files that are being backed up. For the most part, these files are sent over on a one-to-one relationship. So this file, backup exceptions list.gif, this would be, when we back this up, we're going to compress it and encrypt it and digitally sign it as a standalone file and transmit that file to the server, and it'll stay on the server in this format. Let me show you what the data store looks like. This is kind of geeky, but somebody might appreciate it. Here's the RBS data store, and here's the data store for this particular user. Each user has his own folder. This is just an NTFS file system, and here's the folder. And here's what the data store looks like. So each of the files that are on the endpoint end up here on the server in this format, and there's one of them. That's a compressed and encrypted file. It's this one, it ends in RBX, so that's a complete file. Some of these are just patches. They're pieces of files or pieces of databases, or they're exchange mailboxes or messages. In this case, this is a whole file. We've completely eliminated the file name and the folder name from the backup system, and that's so that we can comply with all of the global security and privacy regulations, especially HIPAA here in the United States. Some online backup software retains the file name or the folder name on the server, and in our opinion, that busts HIPAA. Because that file name contains personally identifiable information in many cases. So let's see, to answer your question, Jeff, when these files are sent over to the server, they're not overwritten. This is a unique file. It's got a unique file name. There'll never be another file name like this one ever. Everything that goes up here has a unique file name. So it never overwrites anything, and it keeps versions. So depending on how many versions you tell it to keep, and I'll show you where that is. Here, let me go over here to show you where that is. It's in Setup, Customize Client Installer. I'm jumping ahead a bit, but I think it's important to get to this. Here, in this case, this one is set up to keep 30 days worth of files online. What that means is that it's going to back up. If this backup runs nightly for this endpoint and a file is edited every single day, at the end of 30 days, you'll have 30 versions of that file, 30 different versions in different that were backed up at different days, one a day. So what you do with that, and look, our software will back up files that have been encrypted with crypto viruses, but it won't overwrite previous versions of files. So what you do is, if your customer gets the crypto virus and it encrypts his hard drive and you want to restore files, just figure out the date that the virus hit and restore the files from the previous date. They're there. Jason wants to know if it can do hourly backups. Sure, it can do hourly backups. It can do once-a-minute backups if that's what you want. But sure, hourly backups can be done. I'm going to get to this a little bit later. Jeff, you still got some questions about this. Let me get to this in the regular order. I'll go through that completely, I promise. Oh, good. Victor's written in. He said he had 2 of them last year, and RBS worked perfectly. Great. Thanks, Victor. We don't hear enough good things around here. Nobody does. We like to hear that success story. Okay, so the system, let me get to the customized client installer later. I've shown you plans. Let's see. We got a language translator here. We can translate into just any language that you want. Our built-in languages are these. Let's see, up to here, and we're currently working on Chinese, Hebrew, Redneck, and Klingon. Just for fun, I'll show you Redneck. For any of you who are from the South, if you have any problems with this translation, just email me, and I'll certainly work on it for you. And if there are any Klingons among you, keep it to yourself. The system supports Unicode characters, so it'll fully support Hebrew and Chinese and Japanese and anything like that. Okay, email notifications. Let me show you that. There's an email notification system built in, and it can send emails based on various triggers. You can send these emails through the RBS portal's email service. We have an email service built into the partners portal if you want, or it's better if you use your own SMTP server. But you can set those settings here. The server software can send emails, and we do send it from the server. I know some of our competitors attempt to send emails from clients, which is absolutely the wrong thing to do. Vimbu StoreGrid is one of those, and so that necessitates you setting up an SMTP server for each of your endpoints, which we don't like. It's difficult to do, and it's hard to keep track of, and we think that's the wrong way to do it. While I'm trashing Vimbu, I'm going to also trash Ase and tell you that both of them install an Apache web server with their client software, which is a big, big no-no. Those of you who use any of those, I don't know whether you know it or not, but you are installing an unpatched, old, riddled with bugs Apache web server inside your local environments of your endpoints, and they could suffer greatly for it. I just wouldn't do it. I'd remove that stuff immediately. We don't do that, and we wish they wouldn't, but they've done it. Okay, you can send backup emails based on successful backups, partial backups, failed backups, missed backups, over quota backups, and you can get a daily status report. This is new in version 11.11. It's actually new in not the versions that you don't have. You'll get this version next week, hopefully next week, maybe the week after. But we've got some new things coming up really soon. And this daily status report is one of them. For you guys from Vimbu, you're used to getting a daily status report in your email, and you'll get it now with ours, and it looks a whole lot better than theirs, and it's a whole lot more responsive and interactive. Okay, so, and let me tell you about these notifications. They can go out to users, the user's email, or the email address associated with the endpoint, can go out to the email address associated with the account group, or you can just enter in a random email address. Let me set this back to the way it was. And of course, you can send it from anything, or you can CC it, or you can BCC it. Those of you who have an RMM solution like LabTech, which can create a trouble ticket with an email, are going to appreciate this. Look at the failed backup notification. So you'll want to be notified about failed backups. Those are the most important ones. Those are the ones you need to react to right away. To make you can sort of integrate RBS with that RMM solution one way like this by having let's see, rmm@mydomain.com. So you put your RMM Solutions email address right there, and in the subject you make use of our built-in macros, and here they are. This %C and %U will be expanded at the time the email is sent to say company name and username. So you can write a rule in your LabTech software that allows it to create a ticket specifically for this company and that endpoint. I also recommend you attach the log to this email as well, and then that'll attach as a zip file, excuse me, and it'll generate a trouble ticket for you. All of these emails are template driven, and they're HTML. So when you send these out, here I'm going to click Edit Template. Here's the template for these emails. It's an HTML template, so it can be colorful and have graphics and your own logos and all that stuff. And look at this. It's got 58 macros, 58 that you can embed right in the subject, right in the body of the email. And these include everything that the server knows about about this endpoint. It's how many files they have stored, how many files they recently sent. It's when their subscription expires. It's all kinds of everything that the server knows about this endpoint has a macro associated with it, and you can embed that right in this email. Okay, let's see. That's email notifications. Now let's go on over here and show you how to customize the client installer. To customize and brand the client installer, you go through these 5 screens. These 5 screens include things like your company name. That's the company name that will be included in the endpoint software. You can use this section to upload your graphics. You can use this section to edit the menu system on the endpoint software itself. You can do geeky stuff, low-level stuff, like you can tell it how to verify transfers of files to the server. You can tell it to store the catalog all the time. You can hide the progress screen. You can do all sorts of stuff here, just tons and tons of stuff. You can set the limits. You can set subfolder limits. Store name characters. I've been asked about this, and Jason, this might interest you. There's not too many people know about this, but here it is. This is a number that specifies the number of characters from the original native file name that are going to be appended to the archive file, and it's set to 0 by default. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. Here. Okay, here's the data store on the server side, and you can see that it's got this long file name that really doesn't mean anything. I could tell you how to decrypt this, but it wouldn't excite you. What you can do with this store name characters field, this 0 right here is currently 0. If I set this to something like 12, then what it'll do is it'll append the first 12 characters of the file name to this here, let me get it back on screen. Right, it'll append the first 12 characters of the original file name to this, right in the front of it. So that makes it easy for you to look up on the server side to tell exactly what is included in here. You've got a file name, but it still stays encrypted and compressed and digitally signed. But at least if you have a customer who's crying and he wants one copy of a file back and he wants it quick and he doesn't want to go through the restore process, you can just ship him this file or just go in and restore it for him. The system can be, end users can restore files themselves, as you saw. The restore is pretty quick and easy, and they can do it themselves, but a lot of them are going to pick the phone up and call you for everything, as you already know. This endpoint software is hybrid software. It'll back up to 3 locations at the same time or individually. The first location that it can send to is to your RBackup server, the one in your data center. In addition to that, if you enable local backups, the endpoint can also do local backups, and it can send backups. It can mirror the backups that it sends to your server off-site, or you can set up a different backup set and have it run independently of the other backup sets and do only backups to local devices. This is pretty useful because in the event that you need a lot of files restored, if you have room in the local environment, this is great to turn on and mirror it. Because the restore utility can restore from all of these locations, and it knows which one is the fastest. So when you restore, when you've got local backup enabled, and you do a restore, the software will look in the local location first. The endpoint will look there to see if it's got a copy of the requested file, and if it does, it'll just restore from the local environment, and of course that restores at full local network speed. It's very fast because it doesn't have to download anything, just has to copy it across the network. The system can also back up to cloud services, and not a lot of our partners use this, but it's there in case you want to. You can back up to Amazon S3, Google Drive, Dropbox, or any other cloud service that has an agent that can map a local drive or folder to their service. You can set free space threshold. All right, try to say that 3 times. Free space threshold. Okay, I can only say it once. You can turn on event logging. If you have your Kaseya monitoring the event logs for your endpoints, you can. We will give you a list of all of the codes that we have, and you can monitor our software, both the clients and the server. You can monitor through the event logs. The endpoint software can automatically update itself. When we issue an update from here, it goes to you first, and you apply the update to your server. And once you're satisfied with the client update, you test it. Once you're satisfied with it, it's easy to push out updates. You just go to Setup and, let's see, Client Upgrades. You go to Client Upgrades, and then you can push out your upgrades from there. These are some things that can be changed. You can change the product name. You can change the company name, and we want you to do all this. RBackup is the world's most configurable, brandable online backup software. You can make it completely yours, right even down to the application directory. If you wanted to change the folder that we install it in under program files, you can even do that. Let me show you where some of this stuff shows up. It shows up, here's the agent, which we call the endpoint software. Let's switch it to the simple interface. Switch to simple interface. Okay, you can change, see where up here where it says RBackup demo and the little icon? You can change all of that. You can make that your own software name. You can change this graphic. You can change the graphic that shows up in the help system. You can change these pictures. You can change an awful lot of stuff. There is one point in the software where you can't change it, and that's our lawyers won't let us remove online holdings, and that's on the splash screen. It's a little 4-point text at the very bottom of the splash screen, and I think it says, let's go look at it. Let's see. It may not even be on this interface. Let me switch it to the other interface and have a look. I have a lot of drives mapped to this computer, so it takes a little while to load all these drives. All right, help and about. Yeah, that's a bad graphic there, but I don't see it on here. I don't see it on here. So guys, check yours and see if it's available on yours, Victor. I know you don't like that. Okay, so let's see. Let's get back to the server software. Okay, where is it? Oh, I drug it to another screen. There it is. Okay, you can change, look at all this. You can change all this stuff. You can even change the info that goes into the add remove programs. So the software owner can be you. The software publisher can be you. You can 452 different aspects and properties of the software that you can change with this system and customize it to make it your own. Here you can change client locks. With some applications you can lock the entire user interface, but with this one you can lock pieces of the client interface. You can lock out just the scheduler window. You can lock out just SharePoint. You can lock out the ability to select files for restore. You can lock out all these things individually. For encryption, we support all these different kinds of encryptions built in, all the way from old-style DES and triple DES, all the way up through AES, all versions, and then Blowfish at 448 bits of encryption. We use Blowfish encryption by default because it's the fastest. But if you have to comply with HIPAA, or if you work for U.S. government agencies, they'll require that you use AES. So you'll want to select one of the AES methods for backup for encryption. Do you see up here where we've got the server's address and we've got all of these server 1, server 2, server 3, all of these up here separated by semicolons? These are all servers that your endpoint software will be able to back up to. Built into ours is the ability to run multiple servers which can all fail over to one another, and if one of them goes down for maintenance, the clients will just automatically seek the next server. So what you do is you load up into this field all of the domain names for all of your servers. Even if they're in the same data center, you give them a different domain name, and then you'll ensure that your customers will always be able to get service. Now, if you only have one server and you still want to use that failover system, we got you covered. Let me show you. On our partners portal, we have a hot site, and this hot site is free for you as long as your maintenance is in force. All you got to do is log into the partners portal and then turn on your hot site. There it is right there. When you turn that on, our portal will begin to monitor your server. And as long as your server stays online, we don't do anything about it. But if your server goes offline, then we will automatically switch your clients over to our data center here in Memphis, Tennessee, and we'll back them up for you and we'll store their data for you, and your customers won't see any downtime at all. Once your event is over, you can bring your server back online and then log into the portal here and turn off the hot site. And that'll redirect all of your endpoints, all of your backups back to your server. You can also download anything that they set up here while you were offline. Our command port is usually 2774. That's a registered port we've had since the mid-90s. We also own port 2773, and we use ports 29001 through 29100 for data ports. Backup sets. All right, this is what I promised you I'd get to later. This, the endpoint software is run by backup sets, and a backup set is kind of a script file. It's not actually a file. It's a program that's run, and it contains rules and instructions for how the endpoint software is supposed to operate under different conditions. So which files to back up, how often to back them up, how to back them up, where to send them, how to launch the endpoint software itself, how long to keep the files in storage, all kinds of things. And I'll go through most of them here. Each of these backup sets can be attached to a plan. And here's the plan. I'm going to set this one attached to the Server Unlimited plan. Okay. In this case, I've got the backup type. I'm going to back up just regular files. So I've got backup type set to incremental, which means it's going to back up full files, but only those that have changed since the last backup. I could also select differential if I wanted to play nicely with some legacy software like a DAP tape unit that's still in use, or with Windows backup. I'm going to select differential because that makes a difference in the way we select files. Makes it compatible with those other systems. Full, hardly anybody uses that. Full just backs up full files everywhere. And bit backup is our sub-file level backup technology. This backs up just the pieces of files that have changed. So if you've got a massive file like a CAD drawing or an Outlook PST file, it's many gigabytes big, then back it up with bit backup. Click that on, and it will pick out only the parts of the file that have changed since the last backup, and it'll send those to the server. And that reduces bandwidth and the time required to do the backup and the restore. Do not turn that on for everything. Bit backup is a very special case. It's supposed to be used only for CAD drawings and things that are huge files that change just a little. Bit backup requires a lot of local storage space for its cache. It needs a reference data store, and that reference data store can be as much as 1.5 times the size of the files that are selected for use with bit backup, so use that sparingly. Here's the backup location. We can send it to the server. That's the RBS server itself. We can also send it to the mirror, the local mirror, local device, or a cloud service. Let's see. This is the schedule. The schedule is currently set to back up let's change this to Monday through Saturday. Monday through Friday. Let's launch it at 8 p.m. local time, and let's go for 11 hours thereafter. And at the end of 11 hours, this is currently set to continue to back up, but you can also set it to stop at the end of 11 hours, and this ensures that it doesn't continue to run during work hours. So typically, you'll set this for 8 o'clock, and then you'll set this for or 8 or 7 o'clock, sometime after close of business, and then set this for a number of hours that would that lasts overnight. Jason, I'm getting to you, and here we are. This is the part that you're interested in. You check mark Use Windows Task Scheduler. If you check mark Use Windows Task Scheduler, then the endpoint software will interface. It'll integrate with the Windows Task Scheduler, and the Task Scheduler launches this, not its own built-in scheduler. It does have its own built-in scheduler, but we strongly suggest that you use the Windows Task Scheduler instead, because the Windows Task Scheduler can log in to any account that you want. We suggest you use the local system account. So in order to do hourly backups, Jason, what you do is you set your backup set to use the Windows Task Scheduler, and then you go to it'll generate a task in Windows Task Scheduler. You go into the Windows Task Scheduler, and you can change anything you want. You can switch it to hourly over in there if you want. Let's see, Paul, this is the screen. Paul wants to know if we can kick off an unscheduled backup from this screen. No, what we're doing here. This screen is in the customized endpoint installer. All we're doing with this screen is we're setting the defaults for our endpoint software. We are not managing the endpoint after it's installed with this screen. We do have the ability to do that, and I can show you how to do it. But the system will, let me show you the best that we can do with that. Jason, why don't you give us a call after this? You're asking me a lot of questions about this hourly backup stuff, and I don't think. Give us a call after this is over. Okay, so here we are with the scheduling part of the system. Auto select filter is a part of the backup sets. When you turn auto select on, the endpoint software will search the local drive for files that match these criteria here, and it'll back them up from wherever they are. So this is useful if you have end users who put files all over the drives and you never know where they're going to put them, so you can't select by folders. So you just turn this on and tell it which files to look for, and it'll find them and back them up from wherever they are. And on restore, it'll put them right back where they came from, or you can also redirect. This is the most important part of backup sets. This is called the purge and retention settings. This tells the software how long to keep files and what to do with them. So currently, this is set to purge files that are older than 90 days. This will keep files for 90 days. That's called a 90-day file retention period. This will keep every copy of every file that's selected as whenever it's edited, it'll make a new backup of it. So if you've got a file that changes every single day, at the end of 90 days, you'll have 90 copies of that file, and you can roll back to any point in time. If you don't want to keep files by day, you can keep files by number of versions of the files. So in this case, I have it set to keep the most current 3 versions of files, regardless of how old they are. So it'll roll forward as a new file is added, the oldest one is removed automatically, and the system will always keep the most current 3 files. Now, one piece of insurance we have that others don't is this keep latest version of all files. Here's an example of why you might want to need that. Suppose you've got a small file retention period, 30 days. This is going to back up files and keep them for 30 days, and that's just fine. But suppose you only have an accounting file. Suppose you have an accounting file that's only backed up or edited once a quarter. So it's edited every 120 days. There'll be 60 days in that quarter where you don't have a copy of that file because it's older than the 30-day file retention period, and most software will delete it. Ours won't. If you keep that, put that little checkbox there. It says keep latest version of all files online. Put that checkbox there, and what that does, it overrides the rest of these rules so that if it's deleting files and it gets right down to the very last file that it has, and there's not a newer one, it won't delete it, even if it's older than the number of days of retention. So the default is to keep that on, and we recommend that you keep that on. Here's where you can set session quotas and a lot of other stuff. There's a lot of things here I'm not going to get to because we're running out of time. If you're going to allow your end users the ability to select files themselves for backup, then I suggest that you have a look at the wildcard file exclusions here. These are global file exclusions. Whatever you list here will not be backed up. For example, the recycle bin, all the different versions of the recycle bin, my videos, here's more versions of the recycle bin, my music. So whatever you list here will be ignored, and it won't even show up on the file selection menu. What we find is if you give users the ability to select their own files, they'll just put a green check mark over the drive letters, and they'll try to back up the entire drive. And then at the end of the month, they'll wonder why they have so much data stored and why their bill is so high. Well, just don't let them back up these recycle bins and stuff like that. All right, so that's, let's see, there's one more, advanced options. We enable VSS by default. Don't run it as a service. Start it up in simple mode. These are batch files. You can run batch files before and after each backup set, and you can run them on a per backup set basis. Any commands that you put in here will be executed. So you can put DOS commands, PowerShell commands, Windows commands in here, and they'll be executed before the backup. And then these will be executed after the backup. This is useful in case you want to use your own encryption module. You want to re-encrypt the files before they're transmitted. It's useful if you want to stop a service and then before the backup and then restart a service thereafter. Although our software never requires that, we back up everything that we back up hot and in use. So Exchange, Active Directory, regular files, everything, we'll back it up while it's hot and in heavy use. You don't have to turn anything off. All right, we've done it. We've been through all 5 of these, and now we've got all of our defaults. We've got all of our branding in place, and it's all been stored in the local database. Now, whenever we build an installer, I'm going to click a Build Installer right here. When you build an installer, it'll build the exe file, and it'll burn all of this stuff into it, all these defaults. And that's that. Let's see. Now, it seems like there was a promise somebody I was going to get back to him. Oh, Paul, yeah. Paul, here's you had a question about remote management, and here's how to do it. Let's go to Manage Endpoints, and here's remote management. Let's look at this one demo right here. Here, there are some. What we're on right now is the client. I'm sorry. This is the server's administrative portal. So this portal does not have direct access to the endpoints, unlike Ase and Vimbu, who have that gosh awful Apache web server running out there. You can't. We don't have a web server running on ours, so you can't directly connect with one of our endpoints. So it's done in batches. Periodically, our endpoints call into the server. When they do, one of the first things they do is look for changes that you've made. So you can go to this screen and you can change the client locks. You can change all of this information. You can change things about the backup schedule and the purge and retention settings. You can change all of this stuff, and you can change it per backup set. When you do that and you click Configure, the server software will save all these changes, and when the client calls in, the client downloads them and applies them, and so then they're good after that. We are adding more tabs here. We're going to add a few more tabs that allow you to do different things, and because we don't have immediate direct access with the endpoint software, you can't launch a restore remotely or a backup remotely. You just can't. You would, in order to do that, you would have to log into the client software somehow and punch a button. And we're not going to dare put a server out there that can answer an inbound call. So if you absolutely have to have that, then I will recommend Vimbu StoreGrid to you. We won't ever have it. Well, I'll take that back. We will have it in our version. We've got a version of our software that's just a complete turnaround from this one, but it is at least 9 months out, and it will have features like that. But don't anybody even ask me about it yet. Paul, maybe we need to talk after too, because you seem to have a lot of questions. Let's see. Can you configure multiple backup sets from the installation builder? Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, you can. I'll show you. Set up and then customize client installer and backup set. You can. So the one that we've been playing with today is called default. That's the default backup set. To add a new set, you just click New Set here, and that's a new backup set. Now you can also do it after the endpoint has been deployed, and let me show you that. You know, all the stuff that we've just done here, all these settings, all these defaults, everything but the branding can be changed after installation. Here's how to do it. Here's the endpoint software. It's already been deployed, and now I want to change some of the things that I set up before deployment, and here's how to do it. You pick Preferences, you pick that little padlock icon right there, double-click that, enter the admin password, and all of a sudden it opens up a lot of new fields in the endpoint software. Look, you can change all of this stuff. Remember this stuff from the server side? You can go change all of this stuff. You can change. Let's have a look at what's happened to this now. So since I've unlocked it now with the admin password, I can change all kinds of stuff here. I can change the properties for archive for file selection. I can change it from archive bit to modified date, time, or fast pick. I can change the compression level. I can change the purge date for the files, all of this stuff. Let me show you some of the reports, and then I think we'll be done in case anybody's got any other questions. The reports are here, and these are all available from the right from the web interface. Most important one is probably the disk resources report. This is the report that shows you the usage of your server resources by each of the endpoints. Let me show you how this works. Here's user demo, the one that we're working with today. It's got that many files stored on the server. The total storage space used on the server is 32.46 megabytes. The total storage space for those on the native computer, native size, is just under 40 megabytes. So, and most of our partners bill by native file size. The reason for that is that customers know what the native file size is. If they know any file sizes, they only know the native file size. They don't know the compressed size. And we often get up to 50% compression. And so what we find is if you tell the user he's got, I don't know, 50 gigabytes stored when he knows he's got 100 gigabytes, it can generate a support call, and you have to explain that it's all about the encryption. So we recommend just billing by native size. And let's see, so that's that report. And from this report, you can also edit this customer, you can delete the customer, and you can view specific, you can view detail about this customer's backup sessions. There it is. Let's see, other reports are, there's an executive summary report, and this is a great report. This report is simple. This is partly what gets emailed to you every day. You can get an email in the morning that it gives you the success and failure rate and all the detail for your previous 24 hours. So this is something that you'll want to set up. This shows you successful, partial backups, failed backups, over quota backups, all kinds of stuff here, and you can click here. You can click there to view great detail on each one of these. Okay, let's see. Let me just make sure. Okay, I promised you I would have. I'm done with the regular stuff. And what I'll do now is spend about 10 minutes showing you the e-commerce system. And let me check to make sure that I've got all questions answered, all that I can answer during this thing. Let's see, if the server part of it understood, if you add more than one server there. Victor, you've got questions that I don't have answers for. So we'll have to get somebody in tech support to get you an answer to that. And Jason, we don't have an API per se. We have not had the time to write one. We've got, our database is mostly in clear text. So if you want, you can have a look at the database and see what you can glean from that. You'll also notice that most of these reports can be exported to Excel. You can just click this button right here and it'll export these reports to Excel. So, but let's see, you want to create a page on your customers to, oh, you don't have to do that. Here, your customers can just log right into this. I'll show you. Watch this. Let me log out, and let me click here to log in. There are 3 portals here, actually. I've logged in as an admin, so I get the admin interface. There's also an endpoint login. So let me show you that. Let's log in as this endpoint that we've been using. All I got to do is just go to the, just log in here, and it recognizes that this is an endpoint account, and instead of, look, this is not the same screen we had before. So this is designed for the end user to look at, and it's got this little speedometer here that shows him his quota usage. It shows all of his information. Here he can do a restore or disaster recovery or reinstall his software. He can get his own reports. So that's the end user's view of it. And then you can also log in as group. So you can assign these groups, groups of endpoints, and each one of those groups can have an email address which gives them a login. And then they can log in and they can manage the endpoints that are in that group. Here, I'll log out of here and log back in as admin. Let's see. Before everybody starts to split, let me show you this. This is the Partners Portal. We've got a file sharing system built into it. Works like Dropbox. You can do anything you want with it. We've got a graphics converter built into it. This thing is amazing. This accepts 140 different formats of graphics. And what you do is you upload your graphics to this tool and pick Convert, and it converts them to all the icons and images that we need to brand the client software itself. You can download your installers here and your uploads. You can do all kinds of things in the Partners Portal. There's also, in case you want to have a look at this and drive one yourself, go to rbs-software.com, and what you'll find there is this live server. You click here for a free demo account, and it'll email you a login for this system, and you can drive it yourself, just like I've been driving this one around and showing you things today. We are having, let me just get a plug in here for a sale. Carrie asked me to do this. We've got a sale going today and tomorrow that you can, let's see, I'm not quite even sure what the deal is. It's got, let's see, you get 2 times credits, 2 times licenses for anything 100 licenses and below, and 3 times licenses for 200 and above. This is the best sale that we have run all year. We likely won't do it again. So if you want to buy software, today or tomorrow would be the time to do it. We also have discounts on email. We have this. I'm sorry, discounts on renewing your maintenance. So now would be a good time to do that. Our technical support is available from 4:30 a.m. until 5 p.m. U.S. Central Time. That equates to roughly 9 to 5 for GMT for Europe, and 9 to 5 for U.S. Central Time for the USA. There are a lot of ways you can get live help. Look, we're looking at one of our pieces of software right here, and there's a live help button on it right there. So if you need help, just click that, and it'll connect you to a support coordinator in Seattle. And she will listen to what you have to say, and she'll get you the best help. If you're in an emergency situation, we can get to you right away. If we need to file a ticket for you, we'll be happy to do that. We can. The best way to do it is, so a lot of ways to get live help. You can click the live help button. You can pick the phone up and call us, 901-405-1234. You can go online and file a support ticket, or you can search our website. We've got an exhaustive search built into the website. Here, I'll show you what it is, remotebackup.com. For example, if you want to know how to mirror your servers, mirroring, you just type in mirroring right there, and the very first article that pops up is about how to set up failover and mirroring for your server. There's complete instructions, and there's a PDF file. So that's all available for you. But you know, call us or use the live help. That's the quickest way. All right, let me show you the e-commerce system. Okay, it has coupons, and the e-commerce system is the thing that allows you to accept credit cards online. And again, I said not a lot of our customers do it, but if you want it, it's here. Coupons can be set to, you add a coupon code, you attach it to a plan, you give a discount, and you put a to and from date. The coupon will be good between those dates, and that's good for a percentage off. As far as payment gateways, we currently support PayPal, Express Checkout, Authorize.net, and PayFlow Pro. And then we support offline credit card processing here. So when you want to accept credit cards online, all you do is get an account with one of these companies, and then they'll tell you which information to put in here. And that way our software can interface with them and can do recurring billing and satellite credit card billing. Let's see. Okay, and I already showed you that. I already showed you how that works. So let me show you again. Here's the public side of the website. You pick Buy Now. You pick, you select the plan you want. You pick Buy Now. And you enter. The user selects the username and personal information, enters the billing information. He selects the way that he wants to pay. He can pay with PayPal. He can pay with Visa, MasterCard, American Express, or Discover. Hits the I accept the terms and conditions, and at that point the software builds an installer, creates an account, charges the credit card, sets it up for recurring billing, and many other many other things associated with starting up the account, and then it deploys the software for him, and based on the plan he's selected, and he can start doing backups and restores. Okay, let's see. We're 15 minutes over schedule now. There are some questions that I didn't get to. You guys might want to email them. Just email these questions to me, if you please. You can email to, let's see, it's best to not email me directly in this case because I think I'm going to leave at the end of this webinar, leave for the day. Send to Carrie. Send to Carrie at remote-backup.com, C-A-R-R-I-E at. And she'll be able to either answer the questions or get somebody to answer them for you, or she'll forward them to me. Let me just hang around and try to answer a few more questions as they come in, and you guys can leave as you want to. I appreciate everybody being here today. Remember the sale. Contact us if you wanted more information. You can reach me directly at rob@remote-backup.com. Our website is remote-backup.com, and our phone number is 901-405-1234. We also have a toll-free number, which I don't know off the top of my head, and we have numbers in London, Sydney, Chennai, Ireland, every place. We have others. Okay, let's try to get to some of these questions. Let's see, Paul wants to know the web pages for the customer portals. Yeah, you can brand all of that, Paul, and I'll show you how to do it. Let me show you where the instructions are for that. You go over to your web manager, you pick help, you pick web manager help. The very first item is the web manager default website. That's this one. This shows you everything that you can change. There's the file structure, all the HTML files. It explains the general structure of the site, and here it explains what each of these files is for. Here's an example. Here's one called header.html. Header.html contains this section right here at the top. So if you want to change anything in this section, just bring up, just edit that header.html. Now you'll have to be a web developer to do it. It is just straight up HTML with some Java and some ASP, but I suggest that you hire somebody to edit it if you don't know how to do that yourself. You can brand all of this. You can change the footer, the sidebars. You can change almost everything. The colors in here can be changed with CSS. You'll have to know how to do CSS. And for some of the screens, for example, I'll show you the, this screen right here. This is the form that's used to order plans through the e-commerce system. This page is special. It's divided into 4 sections. There's this section at the top, which is one file, and then there's this section, which is a different file, and then there's this section at the bottom, which is just this little footer. And then everything else is this section right here in the middle. That's the body section. That section can be called separately from everything else. So if you wanted to embed this into your own website, you can do so with an iframe just by pointing it at this particular file. Let me see here. Paul, I don't have any idea how, I don't know. Paul's asking me about if I know anybody who can give him a cheaper rate on credit card processing, and I don't. We just, I don't keep up with it. I know it's expensive. I know we use mostly authorized.net, and we looked around at a lot of them before we switched to them. We use them through Data Plus, I think, or Data or First Data. Maybe it's called First Data is the actual clearinghouse, and then authorized.net is the company that provides the interface for us. We're pretty happy with that, and I think our rate is about 1.7%, and it depends on a lot on the risk that's involved. So, you know, if you take online payments, that's more risky than if you have the credit card on site and the customer pays for it, so they're going to charge you more. Let's see, and Victor says Stripe is the best he's found. And I don't know anything about Stripe, and we don't have a link with Stripe. We don't support them here with our system. Let's see if I've missed anything. Let's see. Jason wants to know if the e-commerce system can do billing based on the size currently used. No, it can't, but it will do billing based on the plan that you select. So if you want to select a plan, and it can also bill, people can upgrade and downgrade plans. So if you want to step from one plan to the next plan, suppose you've got a 10 gigabyte plan and that's not enough and the user wants to go up to 20 gigabytes, then just have him upgrade his plan and the system will keep track of that. Okay, I'm out of questions and I am going to sign off for now. So anybody, again, I'm Rob Cosgrove, founder and president of Remote Backup Systems. We're in Memphis, Tennessee, and we invented the online backup business back in 1987. We know more about it than anybody does, and we can answer questions for you, not only about technology and software, but about how much to charge, how to get customers, all kinds of things. I invite you to go read our blog. I am pretty well known as somebody who lets his mouth run away from him in the blog, so if you want a good laugh, you can go here too. All kinds of things in the blog. Thanks again, everybody. I certainly appreciate it. Call Carrie, 901-405-1234 if you want to buy something today or tomorrow. You'll get a really, really good deal on it. Best deal we offer all year. Thanks again.